From the rising of the sun to its going down, the Lord's name is to be praised. Let us open our hearts to his presence and listen for his voice in the stillness of this evening hour. Our evening sacrifice, the desire of ages, chapter 18. He must increase. December 6th. On Jordan's stormy banks I stand and cast a wishful eye to Canaan's fair and happy land where my possessions lie. I am bound for the promised land. I am bound for the promised land. Oh, who will come and go with me? I am bound for the promised land. This chapter is based on John 3, verse 22 to 36. He must increase, but I must decrease. He that cometh from above is above all. He that is of the earth is earthly, and speaketh of the earth. He that cometh from heaven is above all. John 3, verses 30 and 31. For a time, the Baptist's influence over the nation had been greater than that of its rulers, priests, or princes. If he had announced himself as the Messiah and raised a revolt against Rome, priests and people would have flocked to his standard. Every consideration that appeals to the ambition of the world's conquerors, Satan had stood ready to urge upon John the Baptist. But with the evidence before him of his power, he had steadfastly refused the splendid bribe. The attention which was fixed upon him he had directed to another. Now he saw the tide of popularity turning away from himself to the Savior. Day by day the crowds about him lessened. When Jesus came from Jerusalem to the region about Jordan, the people flocked to hear him. The number of his disciples increased daily. Many came for baptism, and while Christ himself did not baptize, he sanctioned the administration of the ordinance by his disciples. Thus he set his seal upon the mission of his forerunner. But the disciples of John looked with jealousy upon the growing popularity of Jesus. They stood ready to criticize his work, and it was not long before they found occasion. A question arose between them and the Jews as to whether baptism availed to cleanse the soul from sin. They maintained that the baptism of Jesus differed essentially from that of John. Soon they were in dispute with Christ's disciples in regard to the form of words proper to use at baptism, and finally as to the right of the latter to baptize at all. This passage was taken from The Desire of Ages, page 178, Pacific Press Publishing Association, copyright 2005, or Evening Sacrifice, December 6th. I encourage you to connect with God and receive strength to overcome obstacles each day. Thank you for listening. Please join us tomorrow as we offer up our evening sacrifice.